young people and old people, absolutely. Like there's.
But the problem with healthcare isn't that people
but
need too much of it. That's my point.
No.
My point with healthcare is specifically our healthcare is too expensive and it has become commodified.
I agree with you.
So now people are rationing care. People are going to other countries to get insulin.
There's also no market pressures on a lot of our healthcare because there are so many people who need the services that they can afford not to provide them in ways that are actually like appropriate. So like they can afford to keep Tylenol at $100 a pill.
We're getting off topic.
We're on a whole tangent. Anyway,
We'll talk about healthcare a different day.
Right.
RFK.
The point I was making was RFK has some specific positions that I think are really important and that I have not heard anyone else really tackle the way he's tackling. So I say all that to say he has been teasing for a little while that he has not been getting a fair shake in the Democratic primary because they're not having a primary. And he couldn't possibly have seen this coming. Now, my issue is if he had literally talked to anyone on the internet in the last 8 years, we all could have told him this was what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Lots of people tried to tell him. Breonna Joy Gray tried to tell him. Jimmy Dore tried to tell him. A whole lot of people tried to tell this man, hey, listen, Democrats not going to let you run. You think it's sweet because you had Kennedy and you know these people, yada, yada. It's not going to work like you think it will. Come to find out, it didn't work like he thought it was, and he's surprised. To me, that's bad.
So he is now going to run as an independent.
So,
as my long-winded brother here is trying to tell you guys, RFK.
I'm long-winded.
RFK is running in the Democratic primary right now, and not anymore.
Right,
and he was running against Marianne Williamson and Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Basically, the Democratic Party is saying they're not allowing a primary at all.
Nobody's
because of that, RFK, along with Cornel West, who's decided to run as an independent, RFK is running as an independent now. So what makes this interesting is who do these two siphon votes from? Okay, now arguably RFK is going to have a larger portion of the electorate of voters than Cornel will, in my opinion, based on what I've seen.
I agree with that.
So technically, RFK was polling closer to 20% in the Democratic primary.
Correct.
But a lot of his voters are not Democratic. There's a lot of Republican voters that were going to vote for him. So, from what I've seen, people are saying RFK as an independent is going to siphon more votes from Trump than Biden. But now they're saying Cornel would obviously siphon more votes from a stereotypical Biden, but base, really more non-Trump voter. Non-Trump voting people are going to be more likely to gravitate towards Cornel. So I'm thinking Cornel will probably get between 3 and 4% of the vote. RFK might get 8 to 10 if he's lucky. Marianne will probably get 2.
I'm going to be honest.
Well, no, she's not going to be in the general.
Yeah, she's not going to be in the general.
So Marianne in the primary will probably get maybe 10% of the vote.
Maybe. And then Biden's going to clinch it.
Maybe, but you got to think, if RFK's not running the primary, and there are states where you can't vote for an independent.
Correct. But
those people might not vote for Biden because they're looking for someone else.
Well,
vote for
when
Marianne.
you say can't vote for an independent, wait.
I'm saying you have to register as an independent.
Correct.
In certain states like New York.
Correct.
If you're registered as a Democrat and we're planning on voting for RFK, and now he's no longer a Democrat, you can't vote for him
in the primary.
Unless you change your voter registration now, like before the election starts.
Wait.
And a lot of times people don't be knowing that.
I'm confused. Wait, I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. You're saying in New York, if RFK was running as a Democrat,
and you're registered as a Democrat.
Are we talking about the general?
No, I'm talking about the primary because this happened to Bernie.
Yeah.
So, in a lot of those states that had those goofy rules.
Yeah, you got to be registered before the vote, and then if you're not, you can't vote in the primary.
And I know this because there was a lot of independents and Republicans who tried to vote for Bernie in a lot of states.
Correct.
But because you're not registered specifically as a Democrat,
you can't vote.
Even
though
Bernie was an independent in the Senate, he was running as a Democrat in the primary. So. They might have that problem, so I would argue those campaigns need to be getting started on that. Sending out stuff saying, "Hey, vote for me. Register yourself as an independent if you want."
Wait, I'm confused again. Okay, because I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, in Virginia, we have like some of the best voting laws in the country. Yeah. So here, you can vote for whoever you want.
Correct.
But in other states, they don't allow that. The parties basically pass laws saying that you have to register, and there's this
not in the general though.
No, in the primary.
Okay. The reason I keep getting confused is because you keep talking about the primary, but we're talking about independent candidates.
That is a perfect point. But in the general, I think that wouldn't make sense.
No.
Yeah, okay. Oh. Okay, you just worked through that for me. Okay, all right. So we good.
I was so confused.
You're right. But I'm thinking about the primary.
I
guess, technically speaking, when you think about it, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
In the primary,
Listen,
nothing happens to independents.
Because
as far as if you're running as an independent and you get 2% of the vote, who cares? Because you're going again in the general. And you're just as equally in there as Trump and Biden.
Here's the other thing.
You know,
the way that the Democratic Party has changed their rules. If you're independent, you can't be in there. You wouldn't even be allowed to be voted for. Like, the votes won't count anyway. So it's not like you can.
There is another concern. So
which is what?
Like ballot access. So
yes, which I want to talk about.
Yeah, so that was a big part of the problem with the People's Party.
Correct.
Because the Green Party, I think, has ballot access in 48 states. Like, they're almost there.
So the ballot access issue is actually very, very tricky.
Yeah,
so
it is.
I want to take a second to go over this with the best of understanding, keeping in mind that, you know, I don't have all the information at hand and I might get some of these details wrong. So the Green Party had ballot access for this election, I think in like 13 states, I think is what they said.
Okay.
With the ability to get ballot access in another
13.
I think they have it right now.
What I saw was 48 states.
Yeah. So what they're saying is they have had ballot access in 48 states before, and they have the ability, because of the state parties that they already have in place, to potentially get ballot access in 48 states.
Well, lucky for them, they don't have a major candidate anymore.
So that was kind of the whole issue that Cornell was raising, which is, listen, you're telling me that you have ballot access, but realistically you don't have the ballot access yet, and I still got to win your primary, and then you're gonna see if you can get me ballot access. Like,
at that type of agreement, you may as well just run as an independent.
And that was again, because the point he was making when he was talking to Sabby is, listen, Green Party does have some like built-in ballot access already, but they don't have all of it, and the rules around a third party versus the rules for an independent run are not the same. So as an independent, he can actually out the gate get more ballot access with less signatures. He's still got to get those signatures.
Yeah,
he's still got to raise money to get them, but he has the ability to get more ballot access as an independent with less signatures and potentially less money out the gate. I don't know if that's really going to pan out that way. Ultimately, the proof is going to be in the pudding. It probably won't.
Unfortunately.
But the proof is in the pudding. And I think that it's really important that we recognize the moment that we're in. Like, I don't want to overpromise like I did with Jill Stein, because I really thought Jill Stein was going to get 10% of the vote, and I was wrong. Okay, I was wrong. But
if only somebody told you that. At the time,
you were right. Okay, listen. You want your flowers. You want accolades. Okay.
No, I don't want any flowers.
You
because
did to be honest with you,
I was right about too much in that election, because I said that Donald Trump was going to win.
Yeah.
And I remember
we both said
I went back and forth with a lot of people about that. Yeah. A lot of people, because
that was crazy.
If you remember though, like, this is Obama time. Yeah. This is like Obama and Mitt Romney type of, like, those type of politicians. Like, no, Trump.
And I was like,
we would never actually vote for that guy, right? We would never actually elect him. I was like,
the problem is a whole lot of people were not paying attention, because what would happen is everybody would say, "Oh man, I would never vote for Trump." But I mean,
yeah, you wouldn't.
No,
but there's a whole lot of people that would.
No, because the same people who say, "I would never vote for Trump," they would in the next sentence, in the next breath, say, "But I mean, he ain't worse than the rest of these politicians."
Or they would say, "But Hillary." I don't want her to win.
Right.
Like, you know.
So now it comes
a lot of people that said they would never vote for Trump pulled that curtain and voted for Trump.
And at the end of the day, this is people talk about white moderates and all that sort of stuff. And I don't even necessarily think it's racial for real. I think at the end of the day, people are never going to be completely honest if they feel like they can't be completely honest without suffering a bunch of repercussions for it. Yeah. So it's a whole lot of people who voted for Donald Trump who will never cop to it, because they're like, listen, I'm not voting for Hillary Clinton. I think she eats babies. Now,
there was a bunch of crazy stuff. Like, remember the Pizzagate?
I mean,
it was nuts.
Here's the problem.
It wasn't 2016, 2015 a crazy time to be alive.
It was a crazy time to be alive.
It's crazy.
We were talking. Was it Comey 2020? Was that a thing? Am I
Comey from the FBI?
No, not James Comey. Maybe it's Coney. I don't remember. It was Koney. There was some African warlord that was like a flash in the pan. It was like a big thing. Somebody in the comments, please tell me what I'm talking about, because I know this was a thing. I'm gonna Google it later. And
I don't know what you're talking about.
But there was an African guy who was like using child soldiers, and it was like a thing for literally like a summer, and then everybody stopped caring about it.
Are you talking about that movie on Netflix?
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe no, you're thinking of
The movie with Idris Elba.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
No, actually,
that came out after, and I think it's related to that. But no.
Now you tell me, are we gonna push the Israel thing to the next time?
No,
because I got a good story about that.
About
child soldiers in Africa.
No, we're definitely.
I have a really good story about that.
I mean, you want to talk about it?
Kind of,
but
only if we're gonna push.
Okay, let's cut at the RFK thing. So ultimately, okay, I am not super enthused about this RFK run for multiple reasons. We're gonna get into his comments on Israel here shortly. But ultimately, like, I don't like the fact that he has to keep finding out for himself all of these things that everybody keeps trying to explain to him. Like, he should have the ability to look at the landscape. He keeps talking about how podcast is the new wave. He keeps talking about how he really has to get out there and talk to regular people. Regular people have already spoken. They're doing it right now. We're regular people. We're talking on mics right now. Yeah. You need to pay attention to what normal people are saying. If
and
people
what
are
normal
telling
people
you, hey,
need.
The Democratic Party is not interested in actually having a democratic process, you need to take that critique seriously. And until some of these people who have been insulated from all of this stuff that we're talking about really pay attention to what people are saying and investigate it, we're gonna keep seeing the same thing. So I don't. If RFK doesn't, smarten up and shape up and fly right soon, his campaign is only going to go as far as he allows it to go, running into the same problems. So,
see, I'm a lot more, I guess, skeptical and pessimistic when it comes to this types of stuff. Like, Bernie was the only person I think that actually made some noise that was bringing something other than standard corporatism. Like, Elizabeth Warren wasn't bringing standard corporatism, but she wasn't winning anything.
Correct.
So it's like, for me, everyone except for Joe Biden and Donald Trump are circling the toilet bowl right now.
Yeah,
and I don't like to say it like that, but like, I'm just saying that if we're keeping it real, RFK's gonna lose. He's gonna lose. Cornel West is gonna lose.
Here's the problem.
And so to the average, now hopefully, obviously there's other scenarios like somebody passing away or somebody going to prison or whatever.
I'm be honest, I don't know, bro.
But the only reason I'm saying this is, not us, but to the average voter, they kind of vote with, like one of these, if they feel like somebody's gonna win,
they're going in.
Yeah, literally. And so it was the same thing that happened with the whole talk of who's more electable. It's like, if they think this person's gonna win, then it's going to be a snowball effect of that person winning. Like you said, if they don't smarten up
in traditional
change
times,
stuff around, I know where you're going with that. You're right, but I don't think that part has changed enough yet. I think maybe 2 or 3 more election cycles, it is beginning to change. That's how we got a Trump in the first place. People are pulling away from just the standard Hillary Clinton, Obama, Biden, like standard corporate-backed candidate wins every. Like, people are pulling away, but I just don't think we are at that crossroad yet where the standard bearer corporate-backed candidate is actually gonna lose. I just don't. At least the Democratic Party isn't there.
I think in the past, I would agree with you. I think the problem that you have is in Donald Trump, you have somebody who, like, Republicans will vote for him. There's not a single person who is not a Republican voter or a Trump stan who is gonna vote for him. So
yeah, he's got a finite amount of votes.
Right. He has a very dedicated, like, circle of people who are gonna vote for him. And that's it.
But he's struggling to expand that circle.
Biden, sure, but I just don't think it can happen. So
you don't think what can happen?
I don't think Trump can convince people that he's not who he is. Like,
you mean non-MAGA?
Correct.
Like pulling other people back in.
Because that's what happened last time. Last time he had the.
I don't know, man.
I'm telling you, okay. Last
time I hear you though.
He had the cover. He had the cover of. I don't really know what he'll do. Everybody
2016,
correct.
2020.
Everybody has had like their opportunity to see him govern. So if literally anybody more serious shows up, I don't see him getting a large chunk of the vote. Like, is he gonna get his MAGA people? Absolutely. Is he gonna get diehard Republicans who are gonna just hold their nose and vote for him? Sure, maybe. But like independents, Democrats, they're not gonna. It's not gonna be like last time where you had this huge crossover.
We're never gonna finish this conversation because that's a good point. But at the same time, Biden has that same issue. It's like Biden is dealing with the people that have seen him govern, and the people that are very unhappy.
Majority of people.
Well,
yes, the majority of people are very unhappy with what's going on, either with Congress
that's
or
true.
with the border or with our war position and all the money we're spending on Ukraine,
or the
fact
government
that
shutdown,
him not showing up in
or
East Palestine, the stuff that's going on in
not
Hawaii,
cutting these student loans,
Bro.
sending us back to pay for them.
Okay, so
wages haven't increased.
That's what I'm saying. The majority of people are not happy, and this is the first time in my living memory where we have two people who are not just like bad, but they are entirely unqualified for the position. It's not like
I disagree with that whole.
No. Who? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Who in all of the presidential elections in our lifetime has been entirely unqualified for the job?
I don't think that Joe Biden's unqualified. I think he's old.
No.
You're saying that he's unqualified, but I disagree with that.
He can't speak for an hour. He cannot stand up in front of a mic and speak contemporaneously without somebody holding his hand for 1 hour. He cannot do it. He is illustrated over and over and over again. If
I don't see that as making him unqualified. I'm sorry,
but that's just because I don't know what that.
I don't like Biden that much. I think Biden has been probably the best Democratic president of my lifetime.
It's not.
But what I'm saying is I'm disagreeing with you.
What job can you have where you cannot speak for 1 hour? Where you can't be held accountable for like conducting yourself for an entire hour? How are we supposed to send this man to argue on our behalf to keep World War III from happening when he can't speak for an hour?
You don't.
And that's my point.
You send someone else.
Okay, and who decides who else to send?
He does. The White House.
He can't speak for an hour.
I'm not, Elliot. I think you think that I'm disagreeing with you.
No, and what I'm trying.
I don't think that. Okay, let me make sure.
Let me make sure I'm being clear. To be president.
No. You saying that he's wholly unqualified to be. I don't agree with that because he hasn't been able to speak for an hour for the past 2.5 years, and he's been president for the last 2.5 years.
Okay,
but what I'm saying is, I think Joe Biden should drop out. I don't think that Joe Biden should run. I'm afraid that Joe Biden's going to lose.
Here's the problem.
But at the same time, I don't think he's gonna drop out.
Okay,
and I guess I'm more pessimist and more practical. So I'm just like, well, if this is the cards we're dealt, hopefully in 2028 we'll get a better candidate. And I don't want to be like that, Elliot. You know how I was. You know how I am.
All right,
what I'm saying is, do you think he's gonna drop out?
Let me connect some dots for you, okay? On why I do not think you can look at historical data and make predictions about this election, and I'll tell you why.
We're not going to talk about Israel today.
We might get to it. It might be a short conversation. You're right, but I think this is really important.
This is super important. That's why I want to finish this and flush this out. We went
in depth on this before, but I really think we gotta hash this out.
We gotta flush this out.
There are some specific things that are different now that are just unprecedented. The majority of people, over 60%, now do not get their news from TV. They get their news from Facebook or from YouTube or from other social media sources, which is a huge deal because the vast majority of internet news just doesn't look anything like TV news, and all of the top-down control that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party exercise through Fox News and through CNN and MSNBC, they can't do now. They're trying to make Google put the screws to all the smaller people, but it's just not going to work. So that's a huge deal. Then you also have the fact that whether you agree with me or not, the vast majority of people feel like Biden is unqualified, and the vast majority of people feel like Trump is unqualified. We do not, and everybody recognizes that the two parties are not giving us a better option.
When you say unqualified, are they saying that you're talking about the polls that say that he's too old to run? Or are you saying that they don't think that he knows how to be president?
I'm talking about the polls that say I would vote for literally anyone else other than Trump or Biden if I had a real option. There is poll after poll after poll.
I would agree with that.
But
then on the other side of that question is, if you don't have another option, which is the world that it looks like we're going to find ourselves in.
Hold on, because in this particular race, we have a left and a right independent candidate who are running.
We just discussed the fact that the average voter, there is a snowballing effect. So if they think you're going to win, they're going to vote. They are not
But now I want to back up because I agree with that point, but where is the average voter getting the impression of who's going to win from?
From standard media.
The average voter is
You're telling me they're not watching it. Okay, we're going to see who's going to be right.
Listen, and at the end of the day, if we're back here at the end of 2024 and I'm like, dang.
So what do you think is going to happen?
So this is genuinely what I think is going to happen. I think Biden is probably going to pass away in the next 6 months. Because
really?
I think he has late-stage dementia. Yes, seriously. And I think they have been medicating him to just like limp him
So,
over the finish line. But I think they're doing the same thing they did with Dianne Feinstein.
Well, to be
Dianne
honest with you,
Feinstein has been slowly dying in front of our eyes for years.
That is true. Very true.
So,
but the only difference is here. Now, Trump also is having some serious cognitive
I
issues.
agree.
And he said, like, Trump did a speech like a week ago where
he couldn't talk.
He said that he was said he's running against Obama. And
Okay.
have you seen Obama's polls and all this other nonsense? Trump is also like, it's just that
we're not having the same argument. I don't think Trump's going to be around because I think either he's actually going to finish one of these court cases and they're going to tell him you have mandatory prison time, and he's going to be trying to run a campaign from a prison cell.
You think they'll put him in jail?
What?
I think some of these might, but I think all 4 of the cases are open and shut. That's what I think. All 4 of them. But I don't